Mother's daughter. Okay. So, alchemist and the modern day therapeutae, that's what I'm talking about today. And it has been the theme throughout. I think it's really good because we are all alchemists, and alchemists are shifters of energy. So, lately, people have been having a lot of the multidimensional indications. Some people call it the ascension flu. They feel like they're going through the muckety-muck. They've got brain fog. There's dizziness, feeling like you're falling when you're not moving. I was in Kroger's last Saturday, and I started to dematerialize. And I stopped, and I heard this man say, "Ma'am, are you okay?" And I knew someone was talking to me, but I couldn't see him. And then he touched my shoulder, and he said, "Ma'am, are you okay? Can I help you find something?" And I went, "Baking soda." And he looked up and he said, "It's above your head." And I said, "Of course it is. And it's on the candy aisle." So we're all going through these experiences, and some people are freaking out about it, and some people are getting really excited, but what it's showing you is that you have heaviness that's in your body, and we as a planet, we are moving multidimensional. We as a planet, we're the last planet in the solar system to go multidimensional. We as humanity and our physical bodies, we're becoming multidimensional. So things that have to shift, that are in the lower frequencies, in that hardcore, heavy-duty fear, anger, guilt, lack of self-worth, punishment, sacrifice, those issues really have no place in the higher frequency realms. So they're coming up for you to experience. Going multidimensional and dematerializing, that's kind of a symbol that you're on the right track, that you're going light and becoming your light body. So it's really nice when it happens when you choose it at will and not when you're in Kroger's. Okay. So with these experiences that we're having, we create our circumstances, and it encourages us to access and utilize our God-given gifts, the information that we have encoded in our bodies. This wisdom, the knowledge, the experience, it's in our DNA, it's in our cellular structure, and it's in our essence of being. So we are all alchemists, and alchemists, they are shifters of energy. Mary and Kenneth Killick have been teaching us for years that when you shift the energy, you shift the energy of mass. And that's Einstein's equation. Energy equals mass times the light plus the speed of light squared. There we go. Energy equals mass plus the speed of light squared. Hermes, which has been brought up a couple times this weekend. Hermes said, "Oh, let not the flame die out. Cherish age after age in its dark cavern, in its holy temples cherished. Fed by pure ministers of love, let not the flame die out." And that's what we do here in Sakkara. We are the ministers of pure love. When we get initiated and we are ordained and we commit to be the best we can be, we are the ministers of love. And there's no better time for us to really take hold of that truth as we are in this time. People are so scared. They have no idea what to do with all the chaos. And it is us, the way showers, that are going to show them the way. It's our calmness and our centeredness and our quick to react to figure out a better way of doing things than being in fear and anger. So being an alchemist, there's 7 principles in the law, in Hermes' law, and it's the principles of truth. And Hermes says the principles of truth are 7. He who knows these truths understandingly possesses the magic key before whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. And really all it is activating the energy that is within us, acknowledging that we have the right and the capability to do so, and everything we need is at our disposal already. We don't have to go outside of ourselves. It's nice to go to places, but we have everything we require already in our DNA, in our cellular structure, and in our essence of being. So the 7 principles of Hermes, as Stacy mentioned earlier: mentalism, the mind is all. The universe is mental. Correspondence, as above, so below. That which is below corresponds to that which is above, and that which is above corresponds to that which is below, to accomplish the miracle of the one thing. Vibration is the 3rd principle. Nothing rests, everything is in motion, everything moves, everything vibrates. Remember earlier when I was talking about the statue, the stone statue, it is a vibration, it is moving, it's live. It's condensed, so it's still, it looks like it's a still object, but the molecules are moving. They just move really slow. And it's sped up to do movement, to show us movement. The 4th principle of Hermetic law is polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has paired opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Love and hate, same thing, just different degrees of the same emotion. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths, and all paradoxes may be reconciled. The 5th principle of Hermetic law is rhythm. Everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall, the pendulum swings. The pendulum swing manifests in all things, and the measure of the swing to the right is the same as the measure to the left, and rhythm compensates. The 6th principle of Hermetic law is cause and effect. Everything has an effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The 7th principle of Hermetic law is gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has a masculine and a feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes. These principles of Hermetic law are in every living thing that is on this planet. Everything that has to do with alchemy has to do with these 7 principles. When you acknowledge these 7 principles of energy, you can master alchemy. So we already do that with the Holy Grail vortex. And you see, Mary said the other day, yesterday, when the tornado was coming across the lake, and we created the Holy Grail vortex. And when the energy met the energy, we shifted the energy, and that tornado disappeared right there in the middle of the lake. It didn't go up, it didn't go into the water, it just disappeared. It dispersed because it met equal opposing energy. So everything that we experience in life, we can change, we have an answer for already. Anything that is opposing you, any issue that you have that is causing you hardship, there is an equal, brighter side on the opposite to find. I like to use the 9-volt battery as an explanation. So with a 9-volt battery, one side has an electric positive charge, the other one has a negative charge. It runs up the same cell of the battery, it comes to the top to create one energy. That's the balance of masculine and feminine. So, Therapeutae. How many here have heard the term Therapeutae? Good, so a few. So the Therapeutae in the ancient days and in the Roman days, they were the physicians of the soul. They were known for their mystic values, their philosophy, meditations, and their superior healing arts. Does that sound like anybody that's here at this conference? So we are all Therapeutes. Therapeutes were a pre-Christian Essene order of healers from Alexandria. They were known as the best of their kind, given to perfect goodness, and one who attends the gods. The healing temples of the Therapeutae were known as Esculapians. Who's heard that term? Oh, this is good. So in association with Aesculapius, the father of medicine. So the healing temples and the halls of knowledge and the libraries were all used by Hermes and the masters. Jesus and Mary Magdalene and all the Marys and the Magi's, they were all therapeutes, as were Hippocrates, Apollonius, Aristides, Plato, Dionysius, and Galen. So all the greats that are in the physics and the ancient mystics and alchemists, they all were therapeutes. They were masters and the best of their field. So we are modern day therapeutes. That's what I like to call myself. It means we're alchemists. We're physicians of the soul. And many of us here are working our fields as that, physicians of the soul. So those in the healing arts, we know it's just not one thing that people are coming in to see us for. When we work with people, we have to address them as a whole, and that spiritually, physically, what they're eating, what they're thinking, what they've been through, where they're going, what they know, what they don't know. We need to address that all at the same time, and that's how we get results. So the therapeutes are alchemists. We're shifters of energy. We're the bringers of the light, and we're the way showers of hope and peace. And it's important, and especially in these days, to step up. So we all have the energy and the encoding and the information within us, and there's still some of us that are a little bit nervous to be put out in the spotlight. So it is time for you to step up. You made a commitment to be a way shower. That's why you're here. That's why you study what you study. You're interested in what you're interested in, is to be the way shower for those that are less awake and less consciously enlightened. So how do we do that? The way through is through our DNA. Our DNA and our piezoelectric crystals that are in our cerebral spinal fluid and in our pineal gland, those are the teeny little clusters. They hold everything that we have experienced from the very first time we were created, not just in this lifetime. Those crystals are programmed, so is our DNA and our original vibration in the essence of our being. Our DNA has the information. We can access it, reboot it, however you want to call it, re-stimulate it, recreate it. At any given time, when you commit and you ask, you will receive. And we don't need to go outside of ourselves because it's all inside. And that's kind of what I'm sharing with you today, because for me, this is fascinating. So our DNA, and I think that's my right brain, left brain, because I can get really analytical at times and then I can be really woo-woo. So this is my analytical side merging with my woo-woo side. So our DNA can be an antenna, a transmitter, a transducer, and a capacitor, which stores information all at the same time. Our DNA emits an ultra-low electromagnetic radiation, which for short is EMR. That electromagnetic energy emitted from our DNA actually creates a hologram, and it is completely energetic. It's a complete energetic projection of itself. That's because it has the crystals that are the same in our cerebral spinal fluid and the same as our pineal gland. So in 1962, John A. Wheeler published a treatise on the relativity entitled Geometrodynamics. He used quantum physics to support his theory that the energy within the whole of the spherical toroid to explain how wormholes act as transducers for higher dimensional energy that influx into our fourth dimensional space-time reality. And what is that? Our Holy Grail vortex. The DNA has the same energy pattern and topology of a torus, or the toroidal field. So Dr. Glenn Rhine, he submitted that the toroidal shape of the DNA allows the DNA to act like an antenna to sense the subtle energies within our environment, a transducer to convert the subtle organizing energy field into electromagnetic energy, act as a transmitter to radiate the converted electromagnetic energy from our DNA, and capacitors to store that information and multiply those frequencies manyfold. and all to create the biochemical change in an intracellular process in our body. This is why I love alchemy. So under a laser correlation spectroscopy machine, that's a mouthful, DNA DNA had left its energy on the template when they were working with DNA. And Dr. Rhine, he had physically removed the DNA from the slide, and yet it still appeared, the image, fully intact. The image and the energy were still present and viewable, just as if it was still on there. And this became known as the DNA phantom effect. So in 2010, researchers published a paper called DNA Waves in Water. The human DNA, when placed in pure water and then removed, had left its energetic hologram in the water. The water was placed in a test tube that contained the components that make up DNA. The original DNA sequence recreated itself in the test tube, in the physical. The pure water retained the integrity of the DNA's original electromagnetic signal in the form of memory. And what does that mean? That everything in universe, all divine I am, everything we've experienced in all our lifetimes, everything that ever was for the greatest and the highest good, and then some, is encoded in our DNA in memory. The pure water stored the DNA's information and it transmitted it into being. So our brain and heart are 73% water, our lungs are 83% water, our kidneys are 79% water, our skin 64% water, our bones are 31% water, and our human body is approximately 69% water. So our bodies, our organs, our DNA, it holds our sequence of our original essence in being in a hologram in our DNA and in the water in the essence of our being, in the cellular structure, in our thoughts. And we can recreate that DNA, we can recreate healthy DNA and healthy cells within our body, and we can create access to the knowing, the wisdom, and divine light that resonates within us from the begetting of creation. So I like that word begetting, and you see it in the Bible, and it's like the beginning, and then begetting is to procreate. So begetting, it's like begetting me some energy because I know those encodes, so we can all be begetting. So that's what we're here for. Little humor always helps, goes a long way. So, yep, Georgia. So DNA signaling is stimulated by the Schumann resonance, and that's the wave of 7 hertz. And our alpha brain waves also produce the 7 hertz brain wave, and it stimulates our DNA. So what does that mean? When you meditate, when you tone, when you take time to become still, you are resonating at that higher frequency that stimulates your DNA. If you do not give yourself time to relax and restructure yourself, retune yourself, you will not heal your body, you will not become your light body, and it will be very difficult to take yourself through this journey. So there's many techniques that we have offered and that you have around here, especially at this conference. There's several breathing techniques. We have theta technology. We have David R's holograms. All these work because they're encoded frequencies in sacred geometry. And everything that has been shared seems to build. Nobody knew what the other was speaking about, but we're all building on each other's presentation today, which I think is really nice. So in 1996, Dr. Glenn Rhine, working with HeartMath Institute, published a paper called The Effect of Conscious Intention on DNA. When you generate a genuine state of unconditional love, you can resonate with and alter DNA with focused intent. When you generate a genuine state of unconditional love, you can resonate with and alter DNA with focused intent. And what does that mean? So, in the halls of knowledge and in the great libraries, it's one of the reasons why we are drawn here. Mary has the pyramid in the backyard, which is a scale of the Great Pyramid in Egypt. She started Sakkara because of the information and the wisdom that they were downloaded at the Sakkara pyramid in Egypt, the Step Pyramid. Also in Egypt is the Great Library of Alexandria. It was the largest library in Roman times, and it held upwards of 400,000 scrolls. And in Turkey was the Library of Pergamum, which was the second largest. It held over 200,000 scrolls. And then the Library of Celsus in Ephesus, which was the third largest. So one of the things I think is very unique is Mary and I will be talking about something, and Divine drops some information to us that we have to go check out or experience or shift some energy. And then Young Living will drop their little missives that the diamond trips are going to the same area that we just talked about. So they have helped Mary in more ways than one, and one is to provide us a way to get close to the areas that we need to shift or learn or reconnect with energy. So the Great Pyramid, you don't have to be there. Those who have been there, it's really magnificent to experience, but you can take yourself there. You can do it with your mind in meditation. You can get a picture of it. You can look at a drawing. You can just sit at any time, because time is all-encompassing. I learned this great technique with matrix energetic, and I really loved it. And Melissa was just playing around and just showing what things, what you could do with things. And this fellow was upset because he wasn't able to stay that extra day to get the advanced training. And she said, okay, here's a box. Inside this box is everything you need to know. And then her hand dropped a little bit, and she put it into his heart, and she goes, there you have it. I said, she can do it, I can do that. Here's my box. I can't stay tomorrow, so everything they're going to learn tomorrow is right here. I feel the energy in my hand, and I was like, okay, I could feel the weight of the energy. I put it into my heart, I take it in. My friend who stayed for the advanced training, she came to my office afterwards to tell me all the great things. She walks in, and I'm doing one of the techniques that I learned at the conference and at the training. And she puts her hands on her hips, and she said, when did you learn that? I said, I learned it with you yesterday. She goes, no, I learned that today at 3 o'clock. So this works. And it doesn't matter what it is that you need, if it's healing, if it's knowledge, if it's wisdom, a way through. This is a little for your brain to say, okay, here's a box, and inside that box is everything you need. What is that? That's alchemy. So here's the Step Pyramid of Sakkara. So this is nice. This is a rendering of Alexandria Library, and this is a 19th century artist, and it's really one of the only renderings that they have of what the Alexandria Library looked like. So what's really nice is that same energetic matrix technique. So you can walk into the halls of knowledge, you can go into the Great Library of Alexandria, and you have the shelf, you have all these books lined up. And you say, okay, which shelf? This one, and those dowsers. You can do your pendulum, or you can be like Mary. This one, this one, this one, oh, this one. Okay, run your hand along. Oh, this book. Take that book off the shelf, open it up, scroll down. Here's the information you need. You don't physically have to be anywhere. That information is still moving around the energy, around the field, in the essence of being, and we can tap into that at any time. Why? Because our DNA holds those holograms, and those crystals in our cerebral spinal fluid and our pineal that bathe the brain, they hold those crystal forms that allow us to access all things that have ever been created, thought, and manifested. So here's an ancient drawing of Pergamum. It was the second largest library. And this is the library of Celsus in Ephesus. For many years, I was drawn to Ephesus. I just had to be at Ephesus, just like I was to be at the Icean Temple and the Great Pyramid. So on one of Mary's Young Living trips, I traveled with her, and we went to Ephesus. There were thousands of people walking this area, and you were bumped along, and all these people came out of Ephesus. They came out of the doorway, and I waited for them to all leave, and I stepped in, and there's nobody in there but me. I walked into the center. A beam of sun came down upon me. Everything else was shaded, and I smiled because Divine was saying, take it in. So I created sacred space. I put my hands up, and I asked Divine to share with me all the information that was stored, that was taught, that was ever shared and released in the walls, in the essence of Ephesus Library. And I was there for a good 10 minutes uninterrupted. And then I felt an energy, and I looked to the doorway, and there was a gentleman standing there, and I motioned him to come in, and he was like, oh no, whatever this is, I don't want to mess with it. I said, you're here, and nobody else is, you are to come in now. So he came in and stood next to me, and that sun ray opened up to encompass both of us. And then we stood, so it was anchoring the feminine, then blending the masculine, and then after a while, the light left me and went to him, and that was my cue that it was time for me to bow out, and I went off. And I was up at the Colosseum when he came out the door, and then the throng of tourists rushing in past him, and he put his hands up, and he's laughing, and he felt like Close Encounters. And he looked up, and he saw me laugh, and I pointed at him, and he just smiled, and he did a thumbs up. He had the greatest download in his life, and that moment shifted his energy and shifted his life, and he had no idea what he was walking into when he came in. So you don't physically have to be in a place, you don't physically have to hold a book. If there's something that you want to learn, there's an author that's the book and the information is out of print or you can't find, call in that information, because it's all present and available for us. So on a side note, in Turkey, a little ways from Ephesus, this is where Mother Mary stayed the last of her days. So it's called the House of Mary or the Church of Mary. So this bigger doorway is where the church was. There were a few pews, and then there was the altar. And then the smaller side was her private residence and a private altar. Now, across from the altar is a picture of Mother Mary that upon her passing immediately appeared in one of the blocks of the building. And they just have a glass frame hanging over it to protect it so people don't scratch it and destroy it. But she started speaking to me as I turned around and I saw this while I was actually hearing her speak. And she was thanking us for bringing the teachings of the Marys back into humanity, because it was time, and she told us we were doing a good job. And about that time, as you know Mary, she doesn't like to be waiting, and I'm hearing, Gayle! And I look over and I see Mary, and it's like, come on. And she goes, no, you come on. I said, come on. She was like, get over here. And it's like, you get over here. And she goes, oh, for Pete's sakes. And she struts in. And I said, just take it in, turn around, and look. And she looked, and I took a picture with my camera. And in the reflection of the mirror, you see Mother Mary's face, mine, and then Mary's. And then Mary got the download of the gratitude at thanking us for carrying on the teachings of the Marys. So that's what the sisterhood and the brotherhood are, is having you sharing these tidbits of information that awaken your frontal lobe and awaken your knowing, so you have access to that. Because we all can move interdimensional, we all can become our light bodies. The only thing that's stopping us is us and our thought process. So when you let go of the heaviness of your thought and the fear and the denial or the fear that you can't do it, you can do it. And I'm saying from someone who has become my light body multiple times, it's doable. And it's why I'm on the path that I'm on, because when I became light, I had to explain and go in search of how I did what I did, and I wanted everybody to experience that joy that I had felt. And it's truly just one of those things you have to experience. Just telling you about it, there really are no words to describe it, but when you experience it, you know it. So what is our purpose? I hear that when people come for a channeling session with me, the most often asked question is, what is my purpose? Our purpose in these times are to heal ourselves so we can assist humanity and our beloved Mother Earth through this transition. And how we transition into the multidimensional realm is up to us, and we choose. And Divine always asks us to choose grace and ease. So it was in the past that we had to struggle with the healing. I guess it was part of our karma. And then the harmonic convergence took place, and that needing to heal through pain and suffering disappeared. The resonance of that still stays because there's still people that are preaching that. But we can heal quickly with grace and ease. And so the Divine Mother and Divine I Am ask that you do it with grace and ease. And how can we achieve this genuine state of unconditional love? It's activating the limbic system. So, you know, Mary and I and several have been teaching the limbic system and activating the glia brain for a long time. And I saw a picture of the amygdalas, and so in the limbic system and the amygdalas. So the amygdalas, so these are the amygdalas in the limbic system. They are on either side of the third eye. When you are activated and you are in a state of genuine unconditional love, in a state of joy, those amygdalas, they look like my arms and my fist on the end. And they are here, so they look like this on your frontal lobes. When you have activated your amygdalas and you're in a state of joy, you activate and vibrate the frontal lobes. And when you are in a state of anger or fear or shame, whatever, that right amygdala starts to bend over and it does this, and you get locked into that excessive worry, the excessive thought process, anger, guilt, OCD. That's all amygdalas that have gone backwards and have gone, are not in place. And what puts them back to place is breath and intention and essential oils. Young Living has all kinds of blends to help move you into a higher resonance. Any oil that you use from Young Living is going to raise your frequency. And Gary Young blessed us with blends that do exactly what they say they do on the bottle. He didn't just come up with a formula and say, I'm going to call this forgiveness, or I'm going to call this highest potential, or I'm going to call this present time. He used oils and created oils, because some of them don't really smell that good, but they do what they say they do. So the oils, when you use the oils and they go through the olfactory bulb, they stimulate the amygdala and the frontal lobe, doing breath work. It's one of the reasons why positive statements, affirmations don't always work, because you don't believe it and you're not doing anything else but repeating a sentence. You're not going to move that amygdala. But the more you breathe, then all of a sudden, when it goes into place, you hear, and that's clicking forward. You hear us talk about that with TD lingo, clicking forward. You know that they're moving forward because your forehead starts to vibrate. Sometimes it feels, it's like a cool whirl. And when the amygdala activates the frontal lobe, the pineal starts to vibrate, and it's vibrating in cerebral spinal fluid. That spinal fluid and that pool of cerebral spinal fluid allows the pineal to vibrate. It's made out of those piezoelectric quartz crystals that have all our encoding of all that is and ever has been from the beginning in those crystals. The pineal has them inside the gland. And that cerebral spinal fluid comes up the spinal column, and it's what activates and charges the kundalini to rise. When you do your breath work, that breath work activates those crystals and it charges the energy and it's adding electromagnetic energy to you, and that's where you get your charge. So doing your breath work, doing your meditation, using your oils, you really, really, really need to be doing those every day. And I think Chad mentioned earlier that tithing, that 10% of tithing, those 2 hours. Do an hour of meditation and breath work in the morning and do it before you go to bed. When you do it before you go to bed, it allows you to clear the energy of anything that did not resonate in divine love that you acquired throughout the day. When you sleep, your hypothalamus puts into long-term memory everything you experienced for the day. So if you go to sleep in a state of bliss and a state of joy, you're going to anchor in bliss and joy, and you're going to wake up in a state of bliss and joy. And if you just start doing the breath work and using the essential oils, you will, every day you wake up, you're going to be in a better state. So it's up to you to take responsibility for yourselves and move yourself into a state of joy and be the alchemist that you have committed to be. So again, the spiral breath activates the limbic system in the glia brain. And I can tell you too, for those who haven't experienced, and then those who have will confirm, when the lobes get balanced, then this wave comes from the frontal lobe, and you'll feel that wave just drift back. And when it hits the back, and that little soft spot in the back of your head, the RAS, the reticular something or other, the activating, So that little pinhole, universal life force comes in and bathes the brain all the time. And that's why it's important to have structural alignment, to do your breath work, to activate the vagus nerve. It's real important to have the vagus nerve. For those who get stuck, have somebody check your vagus nerve. I can show you some quick little exercises to do with eyes and breathing that reset your vagus nerve really fast. And sometimes all it is with a 3 to 5 minute exercise to reset your vagus nerve. After I had my head injury, it was discovered during muscle testing that when I was laying down, my body was perfect and I was in no pain. But as soon as I stood up because of the injury, my brain didn't know what to do and how to connect and communicate with my body. So I was mush. So when I was laying down, my energy was a 10. When I stood up, I was less than 1 point. So I had to reset my vagus nerve, and doing that in just a couple breaths and some eye movements, reset it, and then I started holding my energy and I was able to shift energy. So we can talk about that at a later time. The other thing that I'd like to speak about, and it's the little plugs, here with people that are around. So DeSpark, we talked about that earlier, and Juan and Chad talked about DeSpark. DeSpark is living minerals. A physicist and her father, who also was a physicist, brilliant, brilliant minds, they created a formula of living minerals that are from the Great Salt Lake, and it is exactly the perfect blend that DNA and cells require to heal themselves. And it doesn't matter what the issue is. When your body is in the environment of DeSpark, it heals itself. So DeSpark is good. DeSpark is like that in the test tube, the essence and what the hologram of the DNA needed to regenerate itself into physical form. That's what DeSpark is. So you can talk to Chad and Juan or myself about DeSpark later. But there's so many things we can do. The meditation, sound, toning, raising your frequency with the theta technology, using sacred geometry like David R. does with his holograms. There's so many tools, and we're going to learn tools later on too, more tools. So many things that you can use to raise your energy and hold the frequency until you start holding that frequency on your own. All these tools, all the essential oils, they are way showers for you. They allow you to raise your energy, and you get used to having a higher frequency, and that becomes your new normal. I like to use that phrase as new normal, because the other one really, and when you hold a higher frequency and a resonance and you get used to holding that, that becomes your marker and your benchmark, and then you work to be higher. And every day you get to, you have the opportunity to go higher, to raise your frequency. So all these techniques, the Holy Grail Vortex, divine intention, everything comes and stimulates from your divine attention. Anything that's been ever created started with thought, and from that spark of energy in the thought, that essence of divine, all that is, that absolute zero to 0 point, to the tachyon field, to the subtle organizing energy, it takes that spark of thought and it starts to manifest. This is how you manifest. This is how you heal. This is how you move multidimensional. You put out your intention and then you follow through with it. And again, that's that personal commitment. So the spiral breath reconnects the brain and the heart, so you're working in unison. And was said earlier, we've been in a time where we've been functioning just out of our mind, and we've been void of the heart. And now we're coming into the times where we must blend the heart and have our mind work through our heart to have the love, to have the peace, to carry the hope, and to be the beacons of light, to heal ourselves and to move multidimensional. Our mind has to work through our heart in unison, and the spiral breath does that. The spiral breath activates the cerebral spinal fluid that bathes the limbic system and our pineal. Here again, the more you breathe, because breath is life, the more you breathe, the more light and frequency you allow to come into your energetic field, and the higher your personal resonance is going to be. When you allow yourself to be still and be in that bliss, it is amazing. You are a magnet, and you are going to attract, you're going to mirror the frequency and the resonance that your body is emanating. So if you got some crapola coming on in your life, sit down and look in the mirror and see what it is that you need to shift, because you are bringing that, you are mirroring it to you. And it's not a bad thing, it's just where you're at. So there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no blame. Just recognize that there's something in you that needs to heal, that's requiring some of your attention, and ask, whether you ask a friend, or you do an oil, or you do a breath, or you do a little box, put your hand in there, however it is that resonates with you to move yourself into a higher place, then do so. And again, the spiral breath. So one of my favorite Bible verses, and this is in the Prayer of the Cosmos. So this is the Aramaic translation of this teeny little Bible verse that we have. When I had my head injury and I realized that I had a brain injury, because I knew I had structural damage, but I didn't realize that I had a brain injury until I asked my doctor why I was illiterate. And my photographic memory was gone, my perfect recall. I couldn't repeat a sentence for almost 3 years, 2 sentences back to back, and I couldn't spell my name for 3 weeks. And when I asked my doctor what was the matter with me, he looked at me kind of funny, and he said, honey, you had a brain injury, and you're lucky to be alive. So I went home, and because I was having a gamut of emotions, I was angry because I was harmed by somebody that I loved. I was angry because I was injured and my photographic memory was gone, my recall. I would have a list of things to do, and I could stand up and forget exactly what I was going to do, not what I was going to do. As soon as I stood up or I turned, I would forget. So when I sat down in prayer, I asked Divine to show me how to heal my brain, and I heard Divine speak these words: all things you ask, straightly, directly, that you deserve, like an arrow to its mark, from the breathing life of all, Father, Mother of the Cosmos, with my Shem, my essence, my experience, my light and sound, my atmosphere, my word from inside my name, you will be given. So far, you have not done this. So ask without hidden motive, Be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by what you desire, that your gladness be full, that the joy of goals met here may continue its story in perfection, in unity. And that's the Aramaic translation, John 16:23-24 from the Prayer of the Cosmos. This prayer says everything about alchemy and what our purpose is, to heal and to ask. We have the tools. There are so many people in so many directions, and said earlier, there's many ways to get to Rome, but there's more ways to get to ascension. So ask, use the oils. The oils, they're vehicles of living energy. I do the oils, I do the spark. I like putting living energy into my body. And the essential oils, especially Young Living's oils, they carry the exact six-sided aromatic benzene chains and vital life force that are found in DNA and our RNA. You will not find that in other essential oils. And synthetic essential oils, they might have that six-sided hexagonal shape, but it does not have vital life force. Only living essence have that, and Young Living takes care to make sure that all the essence and the vital life force are still present in their oils. So in the oils, what makes them work with us too and trigger us is because they're comprised of the same natural elements that are found in our body: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and a minor element is sulfur. And Dr. David Stewart, who wrote the Essential Handbook and the Chemistry of Essential Oils, he's brilliant. He calls these the chosen one. And what was it in the Matrix? That he was the chosen one. And what does that mean? That he was human. He's made of the same basic elements and the essential that we are, and we have those encoded in our DNA, the healthy original essence of our being encoded in our DNA and our cellular structure. It's in our essential oils. It's in the oxygen that we breathe in. So I want to allude to the oils of ancient scripture because they were very beneficial in helping me regain my brain health. What I found really amazing is that all the oils in ancient scripture, they all pass the blood-brain barrier. And what that means is the blood-brain barrier keeps back from the blood flow all the toxins, the germs, stuff that cannot get through. It's supposed to if it's performing correctly. But it does let in frankincense, sandalwood, cassia, cedarwood, cistus, or rose of Sharon, cypress, hyssop, myrrh, myrtle, and onycha. So these oils, they're in the Bible. They all pass the blood-brain barrier. They all heal the brain. So how are we going to combat our emotion dis-ease? Essential oils. How are we going to combat the 5G? Oils of ancient scripture. The oils penetrate our brain and balance and reheal our brain. Do we have everything we need? Do we know where to get everything we need to move through this time of into ascension? Yes. Because we hold within us the godlike powers. We hold within us, and we are the immaculate mirror of God. This was the name that God gave Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene and Jesus, they were immaculate mirrors of God, and that's what their teachings were. Open the amygdalas, open the heart to work the brain and the mind through the heart. Raise your frequency so you are your original essence. Be the light. Be joyful, and I promise you, it is so much easier and so much more delightful to live life in joy and bliss, and it really is easy if you take steps. Do something every day, do one thing different to get you to that achievement. The only reason why you have a less than joyful life is your choices and your thought process. So here at Sakkara, we have everything you need: breath, teachings, you have the energy, the alchemist, you are the alchemist. Make a decision and stand strong in being the immaculate mirror of God. The ancient ones, they call this anthropos, fully realized human beings. So I'm going to allude to the vagus nerve. I'm going to show you these simple little exercises really fast, and then you can do these while you're doing the spiral breath. So the vagus nerve is the longest nerve. It's your cranial, it's the 10th cranial nerve. You have 12, and they are from the brainstem out to the back of your ears, across your occipital ridge and the base of your skull. They come down the side of your neck. One side goes over to your lungs, one side comes around to your heart. The vagus nerve connects to every organ and every function in your body, head to toe. So if you're not moving, whether it's emotional or physical, you're not achieving what it is, check your vagus nerve. So it's really simple, that these little simple exercises. So when you're breathing, you can, if you want, to put your hands, if you can intertwine them, or you can just put your hands right at your fingertips at the base of your skull. And without moving your head, you're all going to be looking forward. And without moving your head, you're going to look as far as you can to the right. And you're going to hold it there until you swallow, sigh, or yawn. And when you do, look back forward. And you will find when you're moving your eyes, you can actually feel the attachments in the muscles at the base of the skull moving. So when you swallow, yawn, or sigh, you'll look forward and you do a couple breaths. And then without moving your head, you're going to turn your eyes as far to the left as you can, and you're going to hold it there until you swallow, yawn, or sigh. And when that happens, you'll look forward again. You're going to do that process with hands up or hands down, however you choose. Do that 4 times. 4 times to the right without turning your head. Then come back to center, 4 times to the left. Go ahead and do that now if you choose.
The hands are in position at the occipital ridge, is that what you said?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Like that or like this. As you can feel those attachments moving, it's when you move your eyes. It's really amazing. When I do the raindrop, I add this to my raindrop before I do the lymphatic pump. I have everybody do the technique, the eye movement. So there's 2 variations that you can do with this. The same thing, so you're looking forward. You're going to look to the right as far as you can, and then you're going to put your ear to your shoulder without moving your chin. You're just going to rotate your head down as far as it'll go. And if it doesn't go that far, that's okay, because the more you do this, it will loosen up. And you hold that until you swallow, sigh, or yawn. And when you do, you bring your head straight up, do a couple breaths. You're going to look to the left as far as you can, put your ear to your shoulder as far as it'll go, until you swallow, yawn, or sigh. And you'll do that 4 times. I've pulled people out of AFib. I pull them out of anxiety, panic attacks, just by having them breathe. I get their focus to look at me, and then I have them do these techniques. And almost always, they come out of it in 3 to 5 minutes. The other variation is that you look to the right as far as you can, but you put your ear to your left shoulder until you swallow, yawn, or sigh. And you want to keep your shoulders, I just moved my shoulders. You want to keep your shoulders straight and just turn your head. When you swallow, yawn, or sigh, look forward Look to the left as far as you can, and put your ear down to your right shoulder. So you're doing the opposites until you swallow, yawn, or sigh. 4 times in each direction, in each of those, and it's amazing. Your neck will start to become more fluid. Just those techniques, just that first one, can reset the vagus nerve, and it's wonderful. So those who get stuck in their emotional issues, do that. We've had, there was a young kid that's autistic in our office, and I was doing an experiment because I read it in the technique training, and so I did an experiment and I had him do this, and he thanked me and he started chatting, and his mom almost fell over because he hardly ever spoke a word, but he just his vagus nerve was shut off, and just that fast in doing those exercises. So you can be doing those exercises and doing the spiral breath. The spiral breath, again, is taking the breath in as if it's coming in through the heart, and you breathe it up to the brainstem, around the occipital ridge, past your third eye into your nostrils, into the limbic system, and then that's your inhale, and you exhale at the amygdalas. When you start to do this, sometimes your forehead will start to vibrate. So this is how it came to me in this symbol. As I was doing the breath work, the Merkaba started to come around my heart. And when my heart was balanced, then I had one over my limbic system. And then I had the large one, and then I had the one at top. So as I was moving my energy, I was also watching this multi-dimensional light show going on of energy and patterns. So go ahead and breathe. Allow yourself to access all the information, all the wisdom, the truth, the knowledge, the divine love that is in the essence of your being. And ask with every breath that you breathe it in and you anchor it into your body. You reactivate it in your DNA. And as you exhale, allow all that no longer serves you to transmute into grace and ease and forgiveness and compassion. And that way it harms none. Let the breath come into the heart, to the brainstem, around the top of your head, down through your third eye, into your nostrils, up through the roof of your mouth, into your limbic system, and out through your amygdalas. It blends with the vital life force energy around your body, and it re-enters the breath in divine love. You have that. On my inhalations, I like to touch my heart. And after doing this for a while, my brain knows well, maybe that didn't. My brain knows that when I touch my heart, my brain says, oh, spiral breath, we're coming into balance. So you can do that, touch your heart, and I find throughout my day that if I'm misstep or a little anxious, I can touch my heart, and within a breath, I'm recentered. And I'll quit talking and you can keep breathing. Thank you. How was that?
Very nice, Miss Gayle.